Most men underestimate the weight of silence. They think their worth is measured by how much they can explain, defend, or argue. They believe the more words they spill, the more respect they earn. But respect is never bought with noise. Respect is earned through presence, through restraint, through a quiet authority that cannot be shaken. A woman's attempts to control or provoke you rely on the belief that you will respond, that your attention can be used as currency. Take that away, and you strip her of her leverage. When she throws accusations, tears, or emotional games at you, her power depends entirely on your willingness to react. Most men fail this test. They plead, they explain, they chase, and in doing so, they hand over their control. The man who refuses to participate, who does not chase, does not argue, and does not react, flips the entire dynamic. He communicates strength without a word. He communicates boundaries without confrontation. He communicates mastery without effort. Silence is the language of discipline. It is the proof that your value is inherent, that your presence is not up for negotiation, that your attention cannot be bought or manipulated. The moment you hold silence in the face of provocation, you force her to confront herself. She must face her own actions, her own manipulation, and her own lack of control. She begins to realize that the games she thought would ensnare you no longer work. She may feel frustration, confusion, or even fear, because she is accustomed to men who crumble under pressure. But the disciplined man does not crumble. He remains still, unshaken, a force that cannot be moved by chaos. Silence is not absence, it is power. It is the most effective way to assert control, to protect your energy, and to reveal the truth. In silence, you are untouchable, and the most destructive weapon is your refusal to give her anything she expected. When you embrace silence, you don't just protect yourself, you expose her. The absence of your reaction forces her to sit alone with her own emotions, her own strategies, and her own reflection. Most women are uncomfortable in this space because their sense of control relies entirely on your responses. They expect men to chase, to defend, to explain, to argue, to prove themselves. When you don't, their entire framework collapses. Silence acts as a mirror, showing her who she really is and who she thought you were. Boys argue. Boys plead. Boys over-explain, hoping to salvage control. Men don't play those games. Men demonstrate, men enforce boundaries, men act without needing to justify themselves. When you hold your silence, you communicate a truth no argument could capture. Your worth is not dependent on her validation. She cannot manipulate it, twist it, or weaponize it because silence cannot be spun. Silence shows mastery over yourself and over the relationship dynamic. Her attempts to provoke you are met with stillness, not chaos. Her manipulations lose their effect because they rely on energy you no longer provide. The calm, composed man unsettles her far more than anger ever could. She begins to question her assumptions, to confront her own behavior, and to see the futility of trying to control a man who cannot be moved. Every accusation, every drama, every test she throws loses its meaning because it no longer produces the desired reaction. And that is the true power of silence. It is active dominance disguised as calm. It forces reflection, exposes weaknesses, and establishes boundaries without a single word. When you master silence, you do more than protect yourself, you redefine the rules of engagement, leaving her to navigate the chaos she created while you remain untouched, untouchable, and unshakable. Silence creates a void that is both powerful and terrifying. Most women are wired to fill spaces with emotional energy, to seek validation, and to anchor themselves through a man's reactions. When you withdraw your response, when you refuse to chase, explain, or argue, you remove that anchor. Suddenly, she is left with a space she cannot control, a space where her imagination begins to run wild. She starts questioning everything. Why isn't he reacting? Why doesn't he care? What is he thinking? What does he feel? That uncertainty gnaws at her because it exposes a reality she is not accustomed to facing. She does not have power over you. The very tactics she relied on to manipulate, provoke, or control you become useless. Her accusations, her drama, her attempts to pull you into conflict crumble because they no longer produce the response she expects. Silence starves her games. It forces her to confront herself in ways words never could. The emptiness you create is not weakness, it is strategic dominance. It is the ultimate demonstration that your energy is yours alone and will not be used to feed chaos. In that void, she experiences discomfort she cannot escape. She may feel frustration, fear, or confusion, because most women are accustomed to men who chase, men who defend, men who try to fix things with words. But you are not most men. You do not give your energy freely to those who have not earned it. Silence forces reflection. It forces awareness. It forces truth. The moment she realizes she cannot elicit a reaction, she is confronted with her own lack of control. Her games lose meaning. Her illusions are shattered. And in that vacuum, your power becomes undeniable. Silence does more than frustrate, it teaches her the lesson that access to you is conditional, that respect cannot be demanded, and that the less you give, the more authority you hold. It is the tool through which you reclaim control, force reflection, and expose the truths she would rather avoid. Silence is more than a tactic, it is a demonstration of self-discipline and mastery. Any man can yell, argue, or chase. Any man can react impulsively to provocation. But it takes strength to remain calm while the storm rages around you. When you hold still in the face of drama, accusations, or manipulation, you reveal a truth that cannot be argued with, chaos cannot exist without energy, and you refuse to provide it. The man who masters silence is untouchable because his stability is unshakable. He does not need to defend himself, justify his actions, or explain his worth. Presence alone communicates boundaries, authority, and control. Every accusation thrown at him, every test or manipulation, falls flat because he does not participate in the game. Silence sharpens perception. It allows a man to see clearly who respects his frame and who merely feeds off his energy. It provides clarity that words often obscure. While most men are lost in arguments, explanations, and emotional turbulence, the disciplined man observes, discerns, and rises above. He sees patterns he could not perceive before, notices the true character of those around him, and distinguishes loyalty from manipulation. In refusing to react, he teaches lessons without uttering a single word. Women accustomed to eliciting responses are forced to confront their own lack of control. Their strategies are rendered ineffective because the man who holds silence is not moved by emotion, not swayed by drama, and not controlled by provocation. Silence dismantles entitlement, exposes illusions, and forces respect. It communicates authority without aggression and mastery without effort. The calm, composed man is magnetic because he is disciplined, unshakable, and unyielding. He does not need to speak to assert power. Every interaction, every test, every attempt at manipulation is met with a steady, unwavering presence. That presence alone establishes dominance, enforces boundaries, and commands respect more effectively than any argument or explanation ever could. The man who masters silence achieves victory without fighting. He does not need anger, arguments, or manipulation to assert control. Instead, he allows the absence of his reaction to do the work for him. In the void created by his calm, composed presence, the wrong woman will expose herself, revealing her manipulations and weaknesses, while the right woman will rise to match his level of discipline and strength. Either outcome strengthens him, because he remains untouchable, unshaken, and unaffected by the chaos she may attempt to create. Silence generates mystery, and mystery commands attention. A woman who cannot predict your thoughts, your emotions, or your next move begins to feel uncertainty. She wonders if you even care, if you are stronger than she expected, if her attempts to control or provoke you are futile. That uncertainty disrupts her attempts at dominance and forces her into reflection. The less you reveal, the more power you hold. Every unspoken word becomes a testament to your mastery, a demonstration of the discipline that allows you to rise above emotional turbulence. Silence is not absence, it is presence at its strongest. It communicates a confidence that cannot be shaken, a clarity that cannot be manipulated, and a power that cannot be challenged. In choosing silence, you reclaim your energy, protect your boundaries, and define your worth independently of anyone else's expectations. You do not argue, you do not chase, you do not beg for validation. You simply exist as a man in full control of himself, and that presence alone commands respect. Silence allows you to step fully into masculine discipline, to see clearly who deserves your attention and who does not, and to refuse participation in games that diminish you. Through silence, you end wars without fighting. You dismantle manipulation without confrontation. You assert dominance without aggression. The quiet, disciplined man is untouchable because his power is inherent, his strength unquestionable, and his presence undeniable. Silence is his weapon, his shield, and his victory.